Hey guys, this is Joshua Seth, voice of Ty on Digimon, and you're listening to Anime Secrets.
Toku Secrets is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Oh, yes! This is Goldar, and you're listening to Toku Secrets Podcast. Don't tune us out, tune us in.
Welcome to Toku Secrets. Join us as we journey into the marvelous world of Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, and many other tokusatsu. Get ready for the adventure of a lifetime. It's Morphin time! Link to the Morphin. I'm Nathan Desai, the dazzling adventurer, Spoken Silver.
I'm Patrick Allen, I'm Shinken Red.
And I'm Ridwan Merchant, Gokai Red.
And I'm Anthony Davis, also known as Curie Green. And we're Toku Secrets.
What's going on, guys? This is the Toku Secrets podcast presented by animesecrets.org. And today, Riz and I, we have on two very special guests, our good friends from Rangerstop and Pop. We have our friend Carnell Holley, who was on last time when we did a post Rangerstop and Pop. And today we also have joining us for the first time, we have our good friend Marc from his channel Blerdography. Good to see you both, guys. How are you guys doing?
Good.
I'm well.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've really had a chance to do this. I know, Carnell, it's been a year, and for Marc, we've never done it, even though we promised you to do it at some point in the last year and a half, and it just never materialized. Hopefully we can fix that going forward and make you a guest on some of our Toku stuff.
I look forward to that.
But yeah, quick notes. Nathan and I both have trouble with our webcams this morning, so
I wish I could see you guys, but
I
feel like I'm out in the open.
My laptop decided this morning to just not want to play with me. So here I'm on a desktop with no webcam. So yeah.
And I'm still recording from a different location, like temporary, of course. But I have to use my phone in the meantime. So yeah, it works perfectly for the audio and everything, but it's not so good with a webcam.
Yeah.
But to kind of jump in here for the guys and people listening back home, we're kind of late to this because it's been like 4 months since Rangerstop and Pop 2024 has come and gone, but better late than never. So we're going to be talking about some of the things, just doing a post con thing just to kind of talk about it a bit because there's been a lot of news, not a lot of which is not exactly good news, that has transpired in regards to Rangerstop and Pop. So we're going to talk about it a lot. But to kind of jump in, I think we should all talk about how long we've attended Rangerstop and Pop and what the con means to us. So whoever wants to go first can go ahead.
I've been on since day one. I think I missed. Did I miss? I think I missed one. Because I know I was late to one, and had prior engagements, but I think I've been to all of them, if I'm not mistaken. But I know I was at the first one.
And what year was the first one again?
Don't get me with the dates.
2019.
Huh?
It was in 2019.
2019.
So right as COVID is going to hit, they have their year after the first one. Wow.
Okay. But I didn't mean to cut you off, Marc. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was gonna say, like Carnell, I've been attending since it's come to Atlanta, and I was happy as I could be, as Power Rangers is my favorite fandom of all time. So finally having like a Power Ranger convention in Atlanta and I can go to it, it was dope. It was dope, and I've had very mixed experiences
Mm.
going, but I've gone every year, and get to covering it as press and meeting the guests and the Rangers. That's been pretty dope. So, and I met you guys. So, yeah, all of y'all, Rangerstop and Pop and MomoCon. So, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I started attending Rangerstop and Pop in 2023 after Nathan gave me a very compelling argument on why I should go to Rangerstop and Pop. And so I made a nice little flight from Houston, Texas, down to Atlanta, and I met Carnell, Marc. There's a guy named JVB versus the World who is also there, and we're all part of the press corps of Rangerstop and Pop 2023. And these guys convinced me that it was a lot of fun, so I came back for 2024, and I'm making plans for 25.
Yep, and my first one, like I remember, honestly, now that Carnell and Marc reminded me, I kind of remember it being announced for the first time in 2019. I was kind of removed a lot from a lot of Toku related stuff. Like I was still watching it, but that was kind of the year where my wife and I, well, she wasn't my wife, but at the time, but we started dating, and and I was kind of focused a little bit more on school since I got with her. Plus, I was working a much more brutal job at the time. But yeah, I started finally attending in 2022, and I've been going ever since. And thankfully, 2022 was the year where I got to get a photo with one of my friends and JDF, because, as most people know, he would no longer be with us at the end of that year. So,
Right.
at least I didn't get to. At least I didn't have a similar experience with what I had with Stan Lee, where I saw Stan Lee was going to be at one Dragon Con, and I thought, well, I might get another chance to meet him later that year. The legend left
Nope.
us.
You,
Oh
Nope.
my God.
you know, I have two comments on that story, Nate. The first one is we all know the real reason you took a break from Toku in around that time period. It's
Yeah.
because you could not handle the absolute absurdity that was Ninja and that garbage. And so you just have to take a couple of years off to cleanse your palate and then come back to the fandom
Wait,
once you
wait, wait.
were
Which one?
Ninja. It's
What's wrong? What's wrong with Ninja?
I mean, I just finished
Ninja?
watching it, and it's not Ninja. It's the Sentai that Ninja Steel was adapted from, bro. Uh,
Oh, did I finish?
it's not that bad, although it
Yeah, it's
probably
not
is to.
that bad. It's not great, but it's not that bad.
I
It's
at
thought
the
it.
at
probably the
the
weakest Ninja Sentai, though.
at
Oh,
the
the
Oh well,
time of
yeah, yeah.
at the time that Ninja was coming out, for context for you guys, we were doing like a podcast every couple of weeks talking about the episodes as they dropped, and we were having a hard time with the Sentai. We couldn't stand the red. Takaharu was just really grating on my nerves and grating on the nerves of the other guys. So there was an episode with a very, in my opinion now, at least for Toku Secrets, a very infamous lawnmower. And that episode is where I just rage quit a TV show. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
first time I've ever had to do something like that. And I watched Overdrive.
Oh,
Just to
Interesting.
just to give you context on how much I was triggered by this Sentai. I finished Overdrive and I finished Ninja Steel, but I couldn't finish Ninja at the time. I might try and finish it now, but at the time I couldn't do it.
and you're talking about Sentai, not the American.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we were it was the year that it was coming out and it was just terrible. But the other note, Nate, I don't know if you noticed or not, but you and I have the exact story on Stan Lee. So I was gonna go meet Stan Lee at Wizard World in New Orleans the year before he passed. And I couldn't make it because of something either with school or family or something had happened. So I said, okay, I'll catch Stan Lee next year. He comes to this thing every year. And then the news broke that Stan Lee is no longer with us. And I was like, well, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I have
was.
a fun Stanley story since we're all sharing fond memories of not meeting him. I got to meet him.
Oh, yeah, great. Rub it in, huh?
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna rub it in. It's an amazing story. So it's the year of our Lord 2012. We thought the world was gonna end, but it didn't, and Dragon Con came around. I only went for like a couple hours. This is the one rare time I was not at Dragon Con, but I went Friday for a couple hours. I was late. Um, Met up with some friends, and we was trying to go to the Sky Bridge from the Hilton to the Marriott, and the whole Sky Bridge was held up by security because she's checking everyone's badges, as that's her job. Um, and the person in front of us was an elderly gentleman, and I'm like, cool, no worries, it's Dragon Con. So finally, the gentleman pulled his badge out, and the attendant was irate and mad. But we all go through, and we're walking through the Sky Bridge, and my friend keeps poking me in my side, like to the point where I'm in tears. And she's telling me, like, do you know who's that in front of us? And I'm like, from the back, it looks like someone cosplaying as Stan Lee, but it's Dragon Con. I've literally seen Stan Lee cosplayers there before. So I wasn't phased by it, but she was like, no, that is Stan Lee. And as other people are coming across the other side, everyone's quiet. Everyone's like being respectful and like whispering and like, oh my God, it's Stanley. So it was Stanley walking in front of us doing the Sky Bridge. And as soon as we get to the Marriott, I got the courage to ask for a picture. That's up on my Facebook page. Me and my friend got a picture with Stanley. And then literally a Spider-Man cosplayer appeared and he disappeared. And I never saw him again until like a couple years later during the parade. That's my Stanley story. He's a good guy. Everybody gets one
Excelsior.
until he doesn't.
I don't have a Stan Lee story, but I do have a what you call it? A teachable moment where one, I always revert back to or go back to when Walter Jones at the first Rangerstop, when I was going to get an interview. He said, like, you can get the interview now, which was a Friday, or you can try Sunday, because Saturday's when he makes his money. That's what he said. I'm like, I honestly thought I could get it, because I was cherry picking. There wasn't a lot of what you call it, because it was the very first one, and even though I got in as media, the press wasn't a thing yet until later, and so it's like, all right, I missed that. I miss Jason David Frank, because I saw his line was crazy long, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I won't be getting an interview with him or whatnot. But if I would have been in line, in retrospect, but didn't, and I was at DreamHack like this past weekend, and I almost had a situation where it's just like, oh, I recognize people because I'm really good at IDing folk, and I'm like when I'm on the swivel, I'm just like, that's how I met Mr. Stick. It's just like, all right, I see you, and sometimes it's not like, all right, hey, can I get an interview and this, because I'm pressed, but I ID'd a few folks. I was like, I'm gonna come back, and then they're elsewhere, and so I was able to recover on a few of them, but I missed out on interviewing, and it's just like, and I say that all and all, is just like, you see them, the opportunity is right there, you take advantage. You don't think that, like, because you're not, we're like, oh yeah, I'll wait next time. Yeah, there is no next time. You see them, you Opportunity. It's knocking. Take advantage. Take advantage. So that's my little departing nugget gem. So yeah.
Yeah, pretty good advice.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
to kind of piggyback off of, we just went off on a tangent on some Stan Lee related stuff. This can be kind of a way to segue into the next thing we should talk about is, some of our favorite Rangers, and not necessarily Rangers, because, Rangerstop and Pop has also brought on some other, pretty cool guests. Like, who are some of our favorite guests that we've got to meet at Rangerstop and Pop?
Ooh, okay. I'll go first. So this past year, I got to meet a lot of my childhood Nickelodeon icons that I grew up liking, as well as like other voice actors from other series, like uh, Dante Bosco from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and so many other things. He's such a phenomenal, legendary Filipino actor. Kel Mitchell from Nickelodeon, all that, Keenan and Kel. Um, Russell Curry, Dino Fury, Red Ranger, and Cosmic Fury Shinpagan Ranger. He's really dope. I really that was a really nice interaction. And then just kind of just being there with all the other just cast members, rather you actually got to talk to them or not, it's just like really dope in itself. But there's a ugly side to it. I don't know, but I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Hence the Knicks.
Yeah.
Um. My favorite. Shoot. It's kind of hard. I want to say. I can honestly say, if I was going to say a favorite, which I don't have. I can't really say I have a favorite, but I know I wouldn't have a hard time saying favorite if Patricia Jolie was ever to attend. But it's not looking like she will, because I'm a big fan of Cassie. Favorite Pink. But yeah. Dang. Well, shoot. I guess I could say Jason David Frank, but I didn't get a chance to meet him. I saw him
I
in
did.
first. He happened to be Sony. Cosplayer Sony was his handler. I remember that, and I remember the line. That was very intimidating, because it was a lot. It was a lot going on that first year. Trying to figure, and then it kind of turned into this previous year, and it again full circle. Thinking back to the first one, because and then the latest one, because Kel came back, and he happened to be in his Good Burger costume or whatnot. But meeting, because I'm just trying to refresh my memory, like looking at the list. And it's crazy to say this, because I know what this is gonna segue into, but Hector David Jr. was pretty interesting. Getting a chance to interview. Greens being my favorite color, so I know, right? I know. It just so happens, and I'm just like it. But the interaction was really cool. The because he didn't remember me the previous year, which was 2023, but 2024, getting the chance to do a nice little one-on-one. We ended up doing a nice little fight sequence because I was the putty, and I'm like, it's just like it was really cool. It was cool. I wish you guys were there.
I
'Cause
saw the video after from
you,
Rick.
you got to have like you. Oh my goodness, because the way, because you people that are listening, because I think Mark, you didn't arrive yet, but I was with Riz and Nate, and Rick, again, like I said, Rick Schick, sorry, Rick Schick, because I mispronounced it. My sorry, Rick. I'm sorry, Rick Schick. Um, and so we were standing, and I recognized him again because I'm able to ID folks because I'm a detective. and I saw him, and I was really interested in knowing about, like, oh man, they're going to do a fight scene or whatnot. So I inquired about it, and he said, like, I got a guy, but I mean, he's asked me if I'm interested. I'm like, yeah, I'm interested, because I do fight scenes, I choreograph and all this, and so he said, like, but he if he doesn't want to do it, like, you're my guy. I'm like, okay, cool. And so I forget the cosplayer, because he looked like the young Tommy Oliver, which I'm forgetting the actor. Patrick Sky, thank you. When he was a kid, so but older, which is so crazy. But he had to bow out, and so I got into it, and so we were like trying to figure out the logistics of, like, okay, what are we going to do with the costume? Because he showed me the mask, he showed me the makeshift Z, and he said, like, I got a morph suit. So and I'm like, I've never worn. Well, I've never worn specifically a morph suit, but I'm just like, well, I've worn my Black. I'm looking over at my costume. I got my Black Panther, and now I have a Spider-Man, which I can't wait to wear officially out. And so I'm like, all right, yeah. I just don't have a dance belt, so that kind of was. I felt a little too free, so to speak. So I'm like me, if I'm gonna do it, I'm all in. He got me, and Mike Baloney, he walked me down to one of the, not break rooms, but that's where I got my shirt. I was like, do I have the shirt on? I do. I actually had the you see that, the staff shirt. So I got a little sweaty wearing it, so I put it on, and I put the morph suit on. I was like, all right, let's get it. So we went out there. Did our fight scene. Everything was cool. They kind of wanted me to land in the crowd. I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea. So I opted out of doing that. But it was a really cool experience. I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, I saw that. I saw the ending of that entire, like, you in a putty suit thing, because I took your photo with you and Rick Stick after, and I gave it to y'all. And then I saw the video on Rick's YouTube channel, or maybe on Instagram, one of the platforms. I thought, oh, that's what I missed by being a fanboy and running around a con trying to get people's photos and stuff. So yeah, but no, that's a really cool story that you had to have. So I'm gonna answer my favorite Ranger in two parts, because I'm gonna tell y'all my favorite Ranger interaction I've ever had, ever, and then I'm gonna tell you one for the Rangerstop and Pop as well. So, not to be very cliche with my answer, because I know a lot of people will say the same thing, but honestly, meeting Jason David Frank was my favorite interaction with any Ranger. And the reason why I chose him is, so back in like 2010 or 2011, I have to go look at the photo and figure out, like, yeah, 2010. I just looked at it. There was a small little cosplayer picnic, like a little meetup. Like, you know how cosplayers have like their meetups every now and then, do photo shoots, hang out in the park or whatever. So at the time, I was still living in Louisiana, and the Houston cosplay community was planning a meetup in Houston area. And I don't know how I got the invite to it, because I don't live there, but I guess somebody knew about my work with AS, and they said, hey, if this might be something you're interested in, given you're in the region. And I was like, I don't really know if I'm going to go to that. That's a long drive just for a cosplayer meetup, and I'm not even a cosplayer. So I'm going to probably pass on that. But I kept an eye on their Facebook page. I followed them, whatever. And then they announced Jason David Frank making an appearance. And I had to stop and look at it like, wait, you're telling me literally my childhood hero will be at this park at a cosplay meetup? All right, guys, pack the car. We're going. So we drive 4.5 hours from Louisiana to North Houston, and I get there to this park. There's cosplayers galore. They're having fun doing the cosplay thing. I get roped into helping out with the cosplay contest they had because I know how to judge that stuff, kind of. And I didn't see ZDF anywhere, so I'm looking around like, is he coming? Did I waste a trip? I mean, I still had fun, but I was like, where is he? And then he pulls up. He gets out. He meets every fan. I get a photo with him, and he left. Very standard meeting an actor kind of thing. It wasn't until he passed away that I heard the whole story. And so apparently, he was that weekend that he was meeting us at the cosplay meetup in the park. He was also the same day flying to go do some filming somewhere. I don't know what he was filming. I could probably figure it out by looking at his IMDb page and cross-referencing the time of the year and all that, but I haven't done it, honestly. But the airport was maybe 20, 30 minutes from the park. So he made a point of telling the lady who organized the event, hey, I'm going to stop by the park, say hi to my fans, and then I'm going to go fly to my filming thing, even though I don't have to. Like, he did it because he wanted to meet his fans. He even told her, I go where the fans are and where the fans want me. And he couldn't stay long because he had to go, but he still took time out of his day to come do a free event. He didn't get any money out of it. He didn't charge for autographs or photos. Literally, he just showed up, hung out, answered a couple of questions, and he left. And that moment is very special to me because, I mean, not many quote unquote celebrity people would do that. If you're about to fly to go do some filming, your mind is not on your fans. Your mind's on, let me go get stuff done. Let me go get my next job done. And let me go pay my bills, basically. But this guy's like, no, I got to go meet the fans wherever they are. I made a promise, and I had a last minute flight, but I'm still going to make it out there, even for a couple of minutes to say hi to people. And I thought that was really a Class A act. And I've met JDF another 2-3 times after at different events throughout Louisiana and Texas. But that's the one that had the most impact to me. As far as like favorite Rangers met at Rangerstop and Pop, I know what Nathan thinks my answer is, so I'm going to troll him by saying first it's Sierra Hannah, which it is. See, it was one of my favorite people to meet at the con for very obvious reasons. But the group I was most in love with meeting, and I'm going to kind of steal Nate's thunder, but I'm not going to outright say it. But meeting the entire Cosmic Fury, Dino Fury cast, and going to that panel that we went to was probably the highlight of my weekend this past year. That was so much fun, and it was so apparent from watching them on stage that these were not just actors who were doing a job; they had become a family, and they were so well connected, and they had their inside jokes. They had, it was just, you could tell that they were a family first and Ranger actors second. And that to me was really awesome to see. And now Nathan can talk about meeting Tessera being his favorite moment.
Yeah, yeah, that would probably be one of my top moments. But I think honestly, one of my other favorite ones would probably this last Ranger Con would probably have to be meeting Russell Curry. Just because, like, in particular, Russell Curry, because I don't know, like, so my favorite Ranger experience meeting a Ranger ever is probably like one of my top would be Sean C.W. Johnson, just because he gave me really good vibes and everything, and I could talk more about that in another podcast. But Russell Curry was a very similar experience. I was telling him how I really liked his character and how he was awesome, and he was probably one of the best Red Rangers we had gotten in a while. And he was really nice, and he asked me what my name was, and he was very friendly. Like the vibes that he gave off of were very special compared to some of these other Ranger actors. Not to diss anybody, because most of them give off good vibes, but Russell Curry in particular seemed like an absolutely just saint to be around, and he's definitely someone I would hope to come back. And it's especially funny that he was able to be so give off so much positive energy, because to my knowledge he had never been at another con before this Ranger stop. So for him to like come out and have all this atmosphere as if he's done this thing 1,000 times, like that's just amazing. So yeah, Russell Curry, Tessa Rao, of course, was great. But most of the Cosmic Fury cast was also pretty good. But yeah, Russell Curry probably would be my big standout one. There are some people that I kind of wish that I met. Like I remember the first year that I went, the guy who voiced Kaiba in Yu-Gi-Oh was there, but I didn't get a chance to meet him. But I don't know. I mean, I could probably get a chance to. Meet him at some point. But yeah, it would probably be. Obviously, I love meeting Russell Curry. I loved meeting the Beast Morphers cast the previous year. And yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Meeting the Beast Morpher cast. Yeah, that. I don't remember his name right now. Yeah, Jazz. So, Jazz and I bonded that weekend because he figured out that my family's from India, and his family's from India. And so we conversed a little bit in our native tongue. And after that, anytime we saw each other, we'd throw out a complimentary, we'd throw out like a greeting in our native tongue to each other every time we met, like, hey, how's it going? Or you doing good? You okay? Just like a quick second type of thing. So that was a really fun thing for me, just to hang out with Jazz and, have that bond where we both know this. It felt like knowing a secret language that nobody else around me knew, and we could talk like that. And it was just kind of meaningful to me to have that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But do we want to give our general thoughts on what Rangerstop on the overall, like how Rangerstop and Pop was for 2024?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Overall. Overall, it was. I think. Well, I mean, y'all saw me. Me coming in. It was. I didn't know what I was getting into. I basically was pulling guard duty for y'all as y'all were doing your thing, and I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do because there was no press room, and so I was like, what am I going to shoot? And then I found my footing later, and I got some stuff, and I think I could have got more again, but overall it was jarring. Thanks to y'all Riz, like going to the panels, because I think this is the first time actually going to a panel, and I'm like, all right, now I realize I need to start going to more panels. Like what I experienced, and now to put it on the channel, and so people that aren't able to attend these events, it's just like, yeah, this is what you're missing out on. That was cool. Specifically, the event itself was a little dicey, but not bad. Hanging out with you guys at the just the bonding experience, because Riz, you're not in Georgia a lot, so it's just like, oh, we gotta take advantage. Marc,
only once a year.
there. Next go round, okay. So we're speaking this into the future. So the whole when we attend 2025, everything goes right, everything aligned. We're all going to eat out. Is that the play? I know this is
that's already a plan. That's already been written in the stars. There's no changing the destiny on this. Even Mark is going to be there this time.
Astrology.
I was there last time. I just was disappointed.
You were not there for dinner, though.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
I also had to work, so I wasn't going to be there for dinner regardless.
Mm.
Well, we're going to speak into the ether this time that we're all going to grab dinner together.
I wanted to go to Rangers After Dark. I've never experienced that. I've heard stories, but I opted not to go to hang with Riz because I'm just like, yeah. I mean, it's not like you're here every day, so I'm like, all right, let's get it. So we got it in.
Yeah.
Mark, you missed out.
I'm sorry. It was. I know I missed out, and in hindsight, if I could go back and do it over again, I would have to figure some other stuff out. But I would stay, and I would just figure out the having to go to work thing. But like I said earlier, overall having Rangerstop and Pop in Atlanta was like a gift to me. Like I'm such a huge Ranger fan, and just being able to not only experience it as an attendee for a couple of years, but then also do it as press or media, and kind of get that access and see a lot of how the sausage is made, if that makes sense, and be able to get some exclusive access and be able to ask the cast members questions. And, we spend months and months and months preparing questions and making sure they're not, questions that they hear all the time, or what they call Ranger questions, because they don't like those questions. It was fun. The whole thing was fun. Meeting you guys was fun. Meeting new friends who not only have similar interests as me, like with Power Rangers, but people who do media stuff, like Chris Dunright. We all know Chris Dunright. He was basically the videographer for Rangerstop and Pop. Shout out to him. Just meeting him and the other TikTok Rangers of TikTok. It was just such an amazing bonding experience. But like Carnell said, it has had its downside, its drama, if that makes sense. Especially with how the con approaches media and press. Definitely need some improvements there. Especially with how everything went for me specifically last year or this past year, with the just miscommunication, the lack of communication, and just the kind of swing and the miss. Like, you got these press corps, these media outlets here, and you're not really using them to the best of your advantage to really help them, do what they do to help benefit the con. That's just all been a mixed bag of experience compared to other conventions that we all have covered. But overall, I'm sad that it's leaving, and next year I'm even planning on getting one of those high-end VIP platinum, titanium, gold, silver memberships, just so I can experience the con for what it's really supposed to be.
Yeah, you mentioned that, but
yeah, I'm grabbing the dinner ticket or whatever that I think it's like a silver pass or something you can use to get dinner, with the Rangers and all that.
Yeah, I might as well.
Yeah, I'm planning to get one of those.
I thought it got to be VIP all the way to get that dinner.
Yeah, so it's like a VIP silver pass or something. I think that's the level. I have to go look and see again. I was looking at it a couple of weeks ago with a friend.
No, I'm talking about doing it like how I do MomoCon and DragonCon every year, where you get the hotel, you take the time off work, you have
you're going fully in.
Yeah, okay. I want to go balls to walls with it.
Right.
I mean, you're just pulling a risk-on experience at that point, because I have to fly in, get a hotel room anyway. I can't stay at my house and do this.
Well, I wasn't going to stay at my house and do it either. It's Rangers Pop and Stop. If I'm going to, it's the last one on the East Coast. You do still have Power MorpherCon. But yeah, Rangerstop and Pop Atlanta, man, it's, next year's going to be lit. I can't wait. I hope they have the big number of guests that they have. The one thing I hope that we do get is like, to me, it feels like every year we've gone to Ranger Pop and Stop, it's about the cast members. It's about making sure they make their money, making sure that, they aren't X, Y, and Z. And every other convention I've gone to, minus the corporate conventions, you kind of miss the actual fandom part. And I want to experience the fandom part. I want to actually be able to just, as a fan, approach a cast member and not be afraid to ask them a Ranger question or something that my audience wants to talk about, because they submit questions, and a lot of those questions we can't really ask because they're Ranger questions. The fan experience is really kind of lacking at Rangerstop and Pop. So I hope this year or next year they go all out with the fan experience.
Yeah. Yeah, so I do want to touch on a couple of things that you guys have both brought up from my experience, because I think you guys in Georgia have a very different con experience than a lot of other places I've been and worked with over the years. As a press outlet, not as a fan. Fan experience is the same across the board at most every con. So I've been doing press with Anime Secrets for over 20 years now, I think. And I've worked with cons all over the country, as big as Otakon, and it used to be in Baltimore. I think they're in Washington, D.C. now or something. All the way down to like this little tiny con here in Houston we just had like a couple of months ago. I've seen the gamut. I've talked to all kind of different people, and there are definitely two type of experiences that press pass holders have at conventions, and I think it's worth talking about because a lot of people in the fandoms don't really know what we do with a press pass. And so to kind of break that down a little bit, and I do want to do like a follow on. I think Mark, you and I talked about doing a podcast specifically on press pass at conventions and all that at some point in the future.
Yeah, I still want to. This is a whole topic by itself.
Yeah, it's a whole thing, but so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it right now because I'll probably be here for like a year. But the two kind of groups you have for press passes, two type of cons you can have. One, you can have a con like most of the ones I go to here in the Texas area, where you're given press, you have your free badge, you can enter the con, and you make your own content. You make your own plan. If you want to go film the panels and put that on your YouTube, that's what you provide the con as services to do. If you're going there to be a event photographer, like let's say you're going to film the photograph cosplay contest, that's your prerogative. You do that. You provide the photos and post them on your Insta, on your Facebook, or your website, or whatever. And that's the majority of cons that I work with, is they tell you, hey, come to our show, here's a free pass, but you guys do what you want within the rules of our convention to get your content and publicize it and put the word out there about our con, good or bad. And a lot of what we do at Anime Secrets historically, and we haven't been doing a lot in the last, I would say since COVID ended, honestly. Like before COVID, we did just a lot more where we do convention reviews. Like, so this podcast we're doing right now, we haven't really been doing this a lot since COVID because we used to do a lot of written articles talking about a con, breaking it down. So yeah, a lot of times you're left to kind of do your own thing. What I kind of end up doing is I'll go to a con to film the cosplay contest, and I'll film a couple of panels that I know our viewers would find interesting. Like 2 weekends ago, I went to a small convention here in Houston called Animeverse Fest. And they have a show every half a year or something. And I was drawn into it because they had the cast of, they had members of the cast of Dragon Ball. They had the guy who played Yusuke Urameshi from Yu Yu Hakusho. They had a lot of really cool anime voice actors in general. So I went and spent a whole weekend out there, and my entire life was staying in the auditorium and filming panel after panel. I think I filmed like 5 or 6 different panels that weekend. I just finished uploading them all like 2 days ago. So that's one type of press, is where you make your own content, you make your own like schedule and plan. And the cons are really hands off and helping you do anything. But then you have the Atlanta, Georgia experience that I find most interesting. And I had never really seen it myself outside of one experience at Acon in Dallas, where they give press some perks, if you may. Now, I've gotten perks before, like, front row seating at events and stuff like that. But you guys are on a different level, even more than Acon Dallas, in that they give you a dedicated press room. And I've seen it firsthand in 2023 when we had a press room at Rangerstop, and the guests come in, you ask them 10 minutes of questions, they funnel out, the next guest comes in, you ask them questions. And I think I've heard you guys say that MomoCon has it as well. But I got to tell y'all, outside of those two cons and maybe a couple others that y'all know about in the Atlanta area, this isn't something I typically see a lot of. At Acon in Dallas, what we had was a sign-up list. And you could sign up to interview certain guests, similar to how you did DragonCon, Marc, where you can sign up and say, hey, I want to interview guest X, Y, and Z. You provide your website, YouTube channel. The guest will look at it and say, okay, I like your platform. I like what you guys do. Yeah, sir, let's sit down and talk. And they have the full right to tell you no if they don't like your content or the kind of stuff you're producing. That's their prerogative. So to me, I always find it funny when I hear you guys talk about, oh, well, there's no press room. I don't know what to do, because that's the normal for us when I'm doing stuff. Like when I heard from the press director at Rangerstop and Pop this past year, and she told me, hey, there's no press room this year. You're on your own. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm just going to do what I normally do then. But I could see Carnell, because I hung out with him a lot. I think his brain reboot. It was like, he was like blue screen of death, Windows style, in his brain of like, wait, what do I do?
Okay. Oh no, go ahead, finish. I have a lot to say about this.
So I thought that was very interesting. I think when we had it in 2023, it was a lot of fun for us because we had the opportunity to meet these actors and do, a couple of different groups asking questions at one time, and that was good content. I do have my criticisms on that format from a content creator standpoint of view, and that is, while we all had our good synergy last year, where we all worked out different angles to get a different, unique look at the panel with them walking in and out, it still didn't give. It became repetitive, right? So let's say Anime Secrets posted the David Yost panel from 2023. Then Blerdography posts the same thing. Carnell Holley Productions posts the same thing. And one group will get the large number of views because that's the video that YouTube algorithm will give preference to, while the other two or other three channels may make a couple hundred hits, and that's about it. So that is my biggest concern when I hear about MomoCon and Rangerstop and Pop is, okay, I understand why y'all might like it because it makes your life easier in terms of content gathering. But from a content producer standpoint, I also don't like it because we don't get that unique thing that makes our channel different. And so, I think if you have that thing, you have to be kind of mindful of, okay, we're going to have to find a way to cut it out. Maybe only put up the video of the questions that we asked for our fans, but don't put up anything else. There's a whole lot of thinking you have to do after the scenes to make sure that you provide a unique experience. And that's something that I think. So Rangerstop, I think, did better this past year for me because we were able to meet up with Jacqueline Zoe and Tessa Rao and do our own interviews with them separate. So that was our own content we could do. Carnell, you met up with Hector David Jr. You got an interview with him separate that we didn't get. So you were providing your own type of content that we didn't provide. And I know there's a whole lot of controversy By the way, I do want to say real quick, we here at Anime Secrets, while we were friends with Hector David Jr. before all this began, we do not approve of his actions in late July in Idaho. And I'm going to leave it there at that. I'm not going to go any further on that train of thought because I do have a lot of thoughts on the matter, but I'm not going to get into it here. But, I think that's how we made this year a little bit better, in my opinion. For us as press, is that, we were left on our own to handle our content needs, but we were able to have our own flavor,
Yeah, for sure.
So I see y'all both wanting to talk, so go ahead.
Yeah, Mark, you were about to say something first. So
I have so much I was about to say. Okay. This is definitely going to be a subject for a whole nother podcast that I would invite everyone to come on and we can really talk about the nuances of this. The first thing I'm going to say is all this is a learning experience for me. I don't have 20 years experience in covering conventions as press. I have 20 years experience of going to them as a fan. So this whole press thing, I'm still maybe a couple of years new to it. And you're right. The Atlanta con scene is different because we are spoiled here because of certain cons and certain people whose name is Dana Morgan, who runs a lot of these press rooms, who really takes care of her people. She delivers unique con experiences for the press outlets with those media lounges, because I've done other conventions that have media lounges and they're nothing like what MomoCon is. And even with DragonCon this past year, they had a media lounge. They had a press interview room. They did that thing that AWA did where you have to apply for the people and they get to approve or deny you. And then in some situations, they doubled up interviews and they had stuff everywhere. It wasn't just like DragonCon's press was actually a lot bigger than what we saw because they had people in every hotel. They had a press room in every hotel. Specific outlets were to do specific things. Same thing at MomoCon. There's the press room and the press lounge, but not all the outlets are invited to do the press coverage with the guests and doing the interviews. Some people only cover the gaming area. Some people only do cosplay stuff. Some people just kind of do it all. I'm one of those people. And then AWA is a lot. It's bigger, but it's also smaller when it comes to the press coverage. So I will admit we are spoiled because the big cons here do take care of their press outlets. Now, like I would say the corporate cons, like Atlanta Comic Con, that was the first time. I wasn't even pressed for that. And I was like, once I saw Carnell doing it and he was telling me about it, I was like, oh, I never want to do that. Urban NerdCon, it never happened, so I don't really have anything to say about it. But they were also going to do, you just run around and do whatever and get what you can. So I got to get used to that. That's something I'm used to doing on a vlogger standpoint, but trying to be like a journalist and be professional is a whole different thing. Like I got to contain the fanboy. But another thing you said, I want to point out. I was the person that made that suggestion at Rangerstop and Pop that we set up our camera angles. The point of that was we all share the footage and use the footage to make our content and videos and even work together and be like, hey, you post this interview, you post this interview, you post this interview, so that way we can all have something unique. But that never transpired. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, that's coordination we never did after the show. We kind of went our separate ways for a year.
I did my part. My footage was there for y'all to use. I'm gonna say that too.
That was for MomoCon. I got because to test. Okay, because when you came up with that on the fly, that was something that like wait a minute. We all have our plan and how we operate. A little different in a situation where it wasn't like, well, I got a mic and you got this, and like if we come together, we can form a whole crew. But it was a situation where we're trying to make sure that like I'm still able to do what I do and not have to worry about other ends being held up.
I get that now.
Okay, and with the MomoCon, that that was a situation where I was having issues, and I felt some type of way. I wish Nate was. I mean, he was there, but he
Yeah.
wasn't there. Next time, in which it was just like again, my camera settings were set differently. Didn't realize that was going to affect things in such a major way. So I'm scrambling to create storage. But when you um did put together, like, okay, here's all the footage, here's everything you have access to, and I'm just like, oh man, that's cool. I see where the thought process was for Rangerstop, whatnot, but I'm like I wasn't there for such and such, and I may have been in the room, but I didn't even ask a question in this particular interview, and so it I would say from an ethical standpoint, but it just didn't feel right in certain situations where I'm like, all right, well, if I wasn't recording, but I was in the room and I was able to get off a question, I was like, all right, I feel okay in getting that segment from Mark's video, and I can, because I asked this question. I did, that's me, that's my voice that you're hearing, but um um video credit, blerdography, appreciate, you know what I'm saying, like I've done that, especially with Anime Secrets. Like, I don't know what happened on a few of the panels, um, and the audio was just like, "Yo, this is wild. Why is my audio like sounding so crazy?" And so I'm like I still had what I shot, but I had to use some of Anime Secrets audio um, in certain sections to make sure that the audio quality was there. And I was like, dang, like that's
Now
wild.
I understand the tags on YouTube.
Yeah, thank
I
yeah,
didn't understand what you were crediting me for. I was like,
it's
what?
like,
This is your
yeah,
video.
yeah.
Yeah, I had
I
to think about it too, but then I
I
had an
was like,
experience.
if you looked at it, it was just it's not a copy and paste as far as like the length of the video, but as far as certain where the audio was, I'm like, man, I got to use this. And so there were some instances where I could use some of mine to get a particular ending or a beginning, but typically, but nobody would know the wiser. Like, hey, the power of editing. But I was just like, hey, like if it wasn't for Anime Secrets, thank you, Mark. So, I mean, it is what it is. You make it work. But it's it's one of those situations where I keep always going back to the whole Gundam situation. Like we're all or even most recently Blue Lock. It's like we're all strikers. We're all these Gundam pilots. We're from different organizations on the same mission, but certain things it's just like, yeah, we got to come together on this, like on some Voltron action, and that's Mark's idea, but it's just like, I don't know, I'm not used to having to form up with other people to make my own mech. I'm like, I got my mech, you know what I'm saying, it's a solo, you
look,
know
we're all Zords and a bigger Megazord
you know
here.
what I'm saying.
A
I
precious Zord.
So I mean, I got what Mark was because of the situation, but again, it wasn't like, oh man, I got all. I'm like, I'm logging in. I see what Mark. I was like, yeah, but I'm like, I wasn't there for this. I'm just like, no, I can't just grab this and like, oh, thanks,
Okay,
Mark.
okay. Let me put you at ease. This wasn't the case for when we did that Rangerstop and Pop. Rangerstop and Pop, I was just trying something out there. It didn't work. I got burned. I learned my lesson. So when we went to MomoCon, and I will admit, I did have a nefarious reason for doing it, but it's a positive reason because, again, I give credit to everybody. But
Hmm.
y'all know I was doing the documentary, and I was like, it's only 4 of me and my crew, and only 3 of us have cameras and only 2 of us know how to do anything with a camera. So I need to get as much footage as possible. Let me go to people who I've worked with in the past or who I like you guys and a few other people, and let me do that thing where I can just get a bunch of footage where I can use for the documentary. Of course, give everybody credit and just be like, hey, we can share footage. If you missed something, it's there. There were interviews that I missed, like I'm missing Lady Baby or whatever his name was, and his Japanese singers. Nobody seems to have that footage, but I have audio from it, and I know people was there because I know who their voices are. But that's another story. Or like Spider-Man stuff. I think I got some Spider-Man footage from Q. Shout out to Pop Tech. But like it was just there for y'all to use if y'all needed it because I had my own plan for it. I was making a documentary. On top of like I can't be at every press interview, it would be nice. But getting back to your issue, if you have access to the footage, use the footage. All I ask you, just give me credit for the footage you use. That's all I ask.
Hey, that's too easy. And I had a feeling that was the case. It's just I'm like, hey, okay, I know how to if I need it, I know how to work it. I mean, same thing like you. I have no issues. I tag people in uh, uh um a project that was done previously that I don't longer we no longer work together, but it's just like we work together. So like you're getting tagged, you're in it. Despite the present day bonds or lack thereof, um, you getting credit. I have no issues with that. Business is business. Like you can't lead with emotion.
I
So
will say this. I will say this. I will never do that again. Because it's never worked out in my favor. Not trying to sound egotistical, but like you guys did give some stuff, but it never that whole idea never worked out in the way that I thought. I thought everyone would share everything and you can just pick and choose and we all collab and just come up with different creative ideas. And
Yeah.
that never happened. So I'm like, all right, stop putting yourself out there. Just do you and go about your business. Because like I don't mind like if you're putting in the work in your channel and your podcast and what you're doing and you're taking what you do seriously, because none of us get paid to go to conventions and cover them for press like that. We're all trying to get to a point where we can.
mhm.
um, I'm fine with collaborating and learning the trades and the secrets and just telling what I know. And I try to come in and be like, hey, like I do production stuff, like for fun. I go do indie projects and production stuff, work behind the camera, work on movies and stuff. So that's where my experience is. I experience with photography, but I lack in other areas. Like I suck with audio because I did photography for a long time, never paid attention to a microphone. So now I need help with audio. If you listen to my channel and watch my videos, I struggle with audio. I could use some help with that. The whole purpose
Meanwhile, my
was
entire expertise is in audio these days.
see, there you go. I see like all these puzzle pieces that can come together. Like Carnell said, we can form the Megazord.
See,
We can
I,
literally form the Megazord. Just believe in me.
so I don't know how many
None.
of our podcasts y'all listen to outside of like Rangerstop content, but I'm pretty sure Nathan can tell you how many times I've rescued our audio from almost being a colossal failure because somebody's computer crashes or somebody's mic is not working the way it wants to be, or maybe they're having a bad connection to the internet or something. And I found different ways to work around that and fix it and make the podcast still
Yeah,
pretty
for
good, in
sure.
my opinion.
Mm.
So that's become my new forte. I also have some pretty good video background now where I can edit videos and get them to look as good as I can. I'm no by no means like a professional at it, but I'm getting better every day. Especially since I moved to filming off my phone, because that's been a
Yeah,
godsend.
definitely. But
Uh,
is there is there anything that So for starters, to kind of move on to the next subject, what are the thoughts that we all have? Because we've kind of already mentioned this briefly in earlier in the podcast, but what do we think about the bombshell announcement that we got earlier about apparently after 2025, Rangerstop and Pop, at least in Atlanta, is no longer going to be a thing? Like, what do we all think about that?
Well, I'm gonna go first on this one, um, because there's a lot to unpack here, in my opinion. So I think a lot of people are doom-saying this is a sign of the end of Power Rangers as a franchise because we're losing the cons now. We already lost the TV show. We already lost a lot of different stuff, and now we're losing Rangerstop and Pop. We might be losing Orlando after 2025. I don't know. Um, so a lot of people are doom-saying that this is like the end of it all, but also I don't think the franchise will ever truly end. I think it's valid to say that Michael, Karen, and Nakia are just getting too busy to do it anymore with personal life. I've seen it before. Nate, when you came to MechaCon in New Orleans, you saw how well run that con was and how it was just a really good experience overall. And even those guys had to say, "Hey, look, the the convention world is changing too quick for us to keep up with. We can't keep doing this. So we're going to close down before we have to sell out." And I think they're doing a similar kind of thing here where we're saying, hey, we can't keep doing this and maintain our normal lives and do our business. Because you got to remember, the thing about Rangerstop and Pop and Rangerstop Orlando that I found very interesting is that this isn't a fully fan-run con, but it's not also what I would consider an industry con. It's that weird mix because you do have industry people like actors from the show who run and own the con, but it's also fan-run in other ways that it doesn't have that mega corporation feel of it, like how Comic-Con does or Fan Expo or whatever. So I think this is just a natural progression of the personal lives of the people behind the scenes saying, hey, look, we can't do it anymore. And I think that's valid. There are other Ranger events out there in the country. We still have Power Morphicon. There's Ranger Station in Philadelphia. There's More Phenomenal Expo in San Antonio, which I'll be starting to work with a lot closer in 2025 because they're right next door to me in Houston. And the owners are really fun. If you haven't seen a podcast yet, go check out our podcast with More Phenomenal Expo. Those guys are amazing and deserve all the love. It's a complete fan-run con for the fans, by the fans. And they don't just bring over, like, a couple of the actors who live in America. They're bringing over Sentai actors now. Like, this past year, they had the honor of being the first group to have the actor who played Barai in Zero Ranger attend. They also had Mai, the Pink Ranger. And if you look at their Discord, they've already promised more Toku actors in 2025 with a hint at Deca Ranger and a hint at Gokaiser. So those are going to be
Hopefully
really fun.
They'll be able to bring some good people in 2026 when I come over.
Yeah, so the convention angle of the Ranger fandom is not going anywhere. It's just in a constant state of transformation, and I think where one convention ends, another will pick up where it left off. The only way this will ever truly die is when we, the fans, stop caring.
Which I don't think is going to happen anytime soon.
No, but I do have more thoughts on that. What I'm going to hold off on those thoughts for a couple of minutes to let Mark and you guys all give your input, because I can see Mark there with his face wanting to say something.
I have nothing.
I am Stevie. Oh my god!
Other than that, it was a bombshell. I mean, it kind of sucks for me because, Rangerstop and Pop meant a lot, but hey, I mean, I got resources that'll allow me to go hang out with Riz in Houston, at least hopefully on a semi-regular basis, at worst. So,
San Antonio, not
right.
Houston. The
Sorry, I
con's in
keep
San
making that mistake,
Antonio.
but yeah, San Antonio, right.
I live in Houston.
When are you going? I should take a flight with you.
It'll be in 2026.
So I
Yeah.
2026. Oh man.
Yeah, they have 2 cons a year, Carnell. They have a mini con and a big con.
Okay.
So the mini con's sometime in spring. I forget the exact dates, but then I think they told me the main con is next September.
Okay, I'm
And
looking
if I
at
just
time.
and if I just start saving all the
Riz.
throwaway money that
Yeah.
I normally use just to go to Rangerstop and Pop and do some other stuff, if I just start saving that after Rangerstop and Pop ends next year, I'll probably have more than enough money to get a cheap flight and a hotel room there.
Hey, just
no.
stop buying those little pins for your bag. That'll help you with your budget.
No, hold on. I have a question. What the hell is throwaway money?
I'm
Just some pocket change, like Akeem said. He's like, don't
I
take
don't
away.
understand the concept. Everything goes to bills and
Income.
I know,
surviving.
but I mean, the way that it works is that most of my salary works toward paying the bills, and then my wife and I are also saving up money, and I get some of that savings for myself. That's the virtue of having a partner.
You know what? I don't have that. So yeah, no wonder why I'm confused. I don't have a partner, a wife, or a life spouse or whatever. I'm thugging it in these streets by myself.
Oh man.
Coming soon in 2025, the Ritz partner.
Right. Yeah. You got to join the club. Mine's a little different. Is it on the opposite side of the spectrum for Nate? I legit can't. I can't take off work. I can't. I am on a serious budget. So when I go to the convention, it is all business. Oh my goodness, it works. It definitely makes the focus is there. It's like I don't like when it's those situations where it's like all I have is one day. I have one day, and I have to get all I can with what I can, and that's the same thing that happened for Friday at no, actually I kind of had 2 days because it was an early access for DreamHack, and I went to that, and the official first day of the convention, I was 10 hours. I think I was there for 10 hours, and I made it work. It was a few that I felt I was kicking myself because I'm like, I recognized, like, you looked familiar, but I didn't know that was you, and I would have got an interview with you. It is so crazy. Ames Taco. I saw her. I saw Manny Moon, which was just like I was just like, hey, but she had her headphones on, and so it's just one of those situations where like, all right, you got that, because she probably didn't hear me, because I'm like I think it was her, and then but what was the topic again? I'm just kicking myself. This disposable income. It's like, nah, man, because I like, and again, I was watching you guys work, and it was so crazy because it's just like y'all have y'all fanboy moment intertwined in the working, because I'm just like I go to
hard. That is hard to control that fanboy when you're in that work mode.
And Nate, I saw you in action. Like you almost like trampled me to get to get the this was at the which one was it, the Cosmic Fury panel. I was like, oh, oh, okay, Nate, let me get out your way, because you were calm about it. But I saw like, oh, he's serious. It is so funny.
Wait, what did Nathan do?
He was trying to get through to get the picture.
Oh, at the end. Okay.
At the end.
Bro.
I love it. I like. Hey,
that was pure chaos at that moment in time.
oh
my
goodness!
What picture was this?
Okay, do you remember the end of the Cosmic Fury panel? They had a thing where you could walk up and take a selfie. I think you got in the way of Carnell somehow.
Oh,
he got no.
Now
Apparently, I was in the way. I was like, oh my goodness! I was like, okay, let me, I'm trying to maneuver my way. I was like, oh wow, I understood it. I was not. He was in fanboy mode. I was not. I was like, I saw it. I saw what was going on. I get it. Shoot.
Breathe, Mark, breathe.
You got to make that fanboy your workhorse, man. Because you just made me flash back to how I was at MomoCon and DragonCon this year, and I was everywhere at once. Like, you got to make that fanboy your workhorse. You gotta want it. You gotta want it, man.
I am low. Let me see if I can. Let's say I'm low on juice.
But yeah, going back to the original question, how do we feel about the news of Rangerstop and Pop being canceled?
That's what I'm supposed to be. I couldn't.
I'm gonna go ahead and answer while you get your thoughts together. Personally, I was devastated. It felt like a betrayal. Not only did we, with Cosmic Fury, we got the conclusion of 30 years of our lives, and it was underwhelming. And I was like, at least I have the comics. And then the comics were like, hey, we're gonna not do comics no more. And I was like, crap. All right, cool. Well, at least I have time to get into those because I barely started collecting them. Then I was like, at least I have the conventions. And then Rangerstop and Pop was like, we out. And I'm just like, Power Rangers fans can't never catch a break. JDF died, and like every time, like I have this Ranger to look forward to. They go push an old man because they mad and road rage. And now you're just like, I feel like the thing I love the most in life, next to my own life, is dying, and there's nothing I could do to save it.
I do want to make a quick note here that the mainline comic from the last 8 years is ending, but the Boom Studio Ranger comics are not ending. They're starting up a new thing in November called Power Rangers Prime, which is going to be a very fascinating comic series.
With the female.
So Laura from Samurai is on the run from the Eltarian police.
Okay.
And she comes to Angel Grove and meets the Mighty Morphin team, I think, or something like that's going to happen. I don't know the whole story.
That's cool. Yeah, I saw something like that on.
So we're still getting content. We're still going to get comics going forward.
On time.
I just read a really cool comic a couple of weeks ago that I'm trying to get my team to read, but nobody's making the initiative to read it besides me. Hint, hint, Nathan.
You still haven't sent me a link to that thing, man.
Okay, we'll have to get on that. But yeah, they still have some good stuff coming out. I think, everything else you said was correct. The TV show ended, the cons are seemingly ending in your perspective, but I just wanted to note on the comics, so please continue on.
And not only that, MF and Hasbro had the audacity to sell off all the memorabilia from the show, from every season. The actors couldn't even get their suits, couldn't even get their helmets. The cast members couldn't even get anything. Everybody has to bid on everything on the auction on what, the 28th, I think?
Yeah. I think it's the 18th.
The 18th? I gotta pay rent with that check. I'm gonna have a really hard conversation with my landlord.
Okay, I didn't. Okay.
So, Carnell, I don't know if you heard the news, but Hasbro is auctioning off all of the Ranger suits, the monster suits, the props, And Hunter Dino, who played Amelia from Cosmic Fury and Dino Fury,
Mm-hmm.
along with other actors, they were all expressing their anger at this because they didn't even get a suit or anything of their own. I forget his actor's name. I'm sure Nathan's going to give it to me in a second. But the guy who played Bridge in SPD, Matt
Austin.
He was on Twitter a couple of days ago saying, it's kind of sad that the things that I sweat in and bled in are now being auctioned off and not being given to me, because they're apparently even auctioning off like the civilian outfits and stuff, or like the SPD outfits. So
it felt like, because Riz, you were at the panel with Dino Thunder.
Yeah.
And you remember Peraza, when he, with the story where he was just like him and Jason, they got their stuff on set. There was just like, oh, like, getting their hands on whatever they could, and
Yeah.
cutting and running. So it seemed like so they were in the right. And because when I got a chance to go to Savannah Comic-Con, and Austin St. John had his panel, and he was the one that mentioned about, because I had to go back and look this up, when he mentioned, it's like, hey, you remember the latest Transformer movie where the kid, the younger brother, he comes walking in, he had a Power Ranger shirt. I didn't even know that. He had a Power Ranger shirt on, and I think I didn't know that Hasbro had the rights to the Power Rangers, and he mentioned, it's just like how cool would it be if everybody was, if all the franchises were in the same universe? Because I mean, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the latest not the latest, live action Transformer movie, where G.I. Joe and Transformers are in the same universe. In the comics, it's the Energon verse, but there's no mention of Power Rangers, to my knowledge, of being in the same universe. So I don't know if that would be too crazy to have all three, but shoot, I like Hasbro already signed with Super X. Super X has a officially licensed deal with Hasbro making the Power Ranger. I don't have the I'm feeling like I should have put my Super X my Super X stuff on, the Power Ranger stuff. But shameless plug. Carnell, all in caps. You go to Super X, get your Ranger fix.
Good to know, because I'm looking to buy one. And
Hey, like y'all talking about let me wait till it's like when I go to the gym, and again, this might be hard to believe. I don't want to go to the gym every single time. I'm not always in the mindset that I want to, like, oh yeah, I love the gym, but I don't always want to go. I don't feel it. I have to pick myself up and go. But I'm just like, I'm wearing certain stuff in the gym where I'm in the mindset. I'm like, I'm this superhero. We're getting it. You know what I'm saying? I got my Green Ranger stuff. I said when I was going to order it, I'm like, I'm going to be coming with that evil Green Ranger energy.
You
Ready
told me that
to
before.
start Rangers out there, Megazords. That's the type of energy that I'm coming with when I wear my Green Ranger stuff there. You know what I'm saying? Like, Dragon Bust, you know it. I wish he would have used it, other than when he was evil. I mean, could he still do the Dragon Buster, or that was just when you're evil you can do that?
probably when he's evil.
Yeah. Okay, you know it.
Yeah.
But this is such a wild tangent, because the topic is how we feel about it, about the news, and with Karen, which I'm going to put that video up, saying about this being the final the final Rangerstop and Pop Atlanta, possibly Orlando, as well. I haven't had the chance to get to Orlando. Trying to get down there, or down Georgia, over and down, over and down.
I can feel him starting to blue screen again.
I think, it's one of those situations. It's on the docket. It's one of those things where it's just like I'm going to different smaller ones like you, Riz, here and there in Georgia, branching a little further out, more and more. But Rangerstop and Pop is always on the schedule, and so it not going to be there. I kid you not. I was talking to another person in the convention arena, and I was just like so how I was literally thinking like, oh well, there's a Rangerstop Orlando, Rangerstop Atlanta. How about a Rangerstop over here and stuff? And I was just like could I do that? How would I go about doing that? And it was disclosed. I'm trying to or Karen that they're like we're looking at selling it. We're gonna sell off the rights, and somebody can take the reins. And like, what would that look like?
I have so many questions. Who's going to buy a dying franchise? Who's going to buy a convention to a dying franchise?
I mean, is it really?
Well, I mean, it is a dying franchise from the standpoint that we don't have a current TV show airing, but the comics are still ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
But the fandom... Okay, so the fandom is a mixed bag to me, honestly. Because my first reaction as a longtime con goer and member of the fandom for, multiple decades, my initial reaction is, well, the fandom's not dying. We're still here. We're still in love with the franchise and all that. But at the same time, when it comes down to actually supporting the franchise, we don't really show up in the way that we should be. I know there's a lot of people at the start of... So when Dino Fury ended and we started getting the hints of Cosmic Fury coming, a lot of people were excited to see, another season 30. But then there is so much backlash in the fandom about, oh, Amelia replacing Zato as the Red, Zato being this morphing master. There's so many different controversies around that. Then there's a lot of people who are just hating on different aspects of Cosmic Fury in general. Some of them are warranted, I will admit, but I think the fact that we're so toxic and quick to turn on the franchise when one little thing doesn't go our way, and we come out and say, oh, we're not going to watch Cosmic Fury because we don't want to have a female Red, or we're mad that they demoted Zato to this new role and gave Amelia the reins instead. Like, these are all things that happen, and I get why people are upset. But we all knew that the franchise was on its last leg when it went to Hasbro. Saban did a really good job of royally screwing it up with Ninja Steel. And Nathan can go on a whole rant, I feel like, about Ninja Steel because he's currently watching it. And I know Mark is trying to say something right now, so I'm going to let him talk before he explodes.
I can't cuss on your podcast, can I?
No.
Okay.
Because we're monetized on YouTube, so we can't cuss because of the rules.
No, that's why I asked before I did it. Going back to that Hasbro comment, I'm gonna be honest with you. The franchise has been on its last leg ever since it took that year or two hiatus from Disney to the Neo Saban era. The shift in tone of Power Rangers as a show and how it was produced, the tone in which it treated its audience went from mature adult to you're 4 years old again type of content, and then how they just mishandled, especially in the Saban era. I will admit Hasbro tried, but I'm not going to make that reference either because your channel's monetized and it's an election season. But Hasbro did the best they could with a dumpster fire. Saban took something like Disney, and I admit it, back when it happened, we didn't appreciate the Disney era. But since it happened, every Ranger fan appreciates the Disney era. Granted, most of the adults now are from the Disney era, because Mighty Morphin era is getting a lot of hate now. But it started going downhill there when Samurai came out, and they didn't honor the season well enough with it being Samurai. Something typically that would have been considered too Japanese, they did it and didn't make it enough Japanese. Don't understand how they missed the ball on that one. And then the super season, terrible idea. If we're going to get 20 episodes a season, just give us one season with 40 episodes. What's with this split thing? I know that's a Nickelodeon thing, but that was rubbish. And again, I cannot explain like how the tone completely shifted from RPM to Samurai to Super Samurai, the Mega Force, Super Mega Force. Oh my God, here we go. I'm about to go on the Super Mega Force, right?
Oh, do it.
How do you mess up something that was gift wrapped in a golden bowl, put upon a pedestal on a golden tray, hand delivered by Jesus himself to you, the original holder of this IP in the West, and you F it up? And that's all I'm gonna say about that, because you have to subscribe to my channel to figure out what my thoughts are about Mega Force and Super Mega Force. That was it. That's my point.
I think I agree with a lot of the stuff that you're saying, Mark, because yeah, the tone did change around the end of RPM and Samurai, but I think despite how bad Samurai and Megaforce were, and Dino Charge was a pretty good season overall. I think it's like top 10 season if I had to try and rank it. But the tonal shift really started hitting hard in the Neo Saban era because of the Nickelodeon stuff. But even then, I mean, there was some good stuff that came out of most seasons that came out after RPM. Like, I enjoyed some parts of Super Mega Force, like the cameos. I thought those were pretty cool. But there's a lot of things I wish they'd done more of in Mega Force that we didn't really get, that we got in Gokaiser. In fact, I think the stupidest thing they did was try and take Goseizer and Gokaiser and put them into one season, basically.
Oh,
that should have been
big fact.
Seasons.
Should have 100% separate seasons.
Yeah.
100%.
I said this on the podcast before, and I think I've even said it on our older podcast from way back in the day, Nate, but my concept for Megaforce, Super Megaforce is have the original Megaforce cast remain using the Goseizer suits, and then introduce 6 new Rangers, new actors, or find a way to bring in like Ryota Ozawa and some of those people to play Captain Marvelous and have a competition between the Megaforce team and the Pirate Force team, or whatever you want to call them, to try and get the greatest power in the universe, which is the Ranger key sets. And
they could have had a Legacy Ranger come back from previous seasons to make up the 6 Rangers that made up Super Mega Force. Another thing they messed up on is how you mess up Guy. How do you mess up Gokai Silver? He's literally the representation of us in the Power Ranger universe. He's a Power Ranger fanboy. He was your encyclopedia. Why did we get Orion, another silver alien from outer space?
I think what happened there, honestly, and I'm just kind of speculating because I'm not Saban. I have no idea what they're doing in the back rooms, but my honest thought is they were just overwhelmed by taking back the franchise, and they were out of practice, like they hadn't done anything since halfway through Wild Force. I mean, really, their last season was Time Force.
Well, didn't they do Kamen Rider Dragon Knights?
Was that Saban? I don't know if that
I don't think
was
so.
that
That came out on Kids
Yeah, that was
WB, I think.
Yeah, that wasn't
Saban.
Oh, it wasn't Saban. Okay, so the last thing they did was Mystic Knights of Team Oregon, like you said, halfway through Wild Force.
Tyrannog was well before that.
Was not Saban?
Dragon Knight was not.
What? So that was Disney?
No, it wasn't Disney.
Hang on, I'm
That
looking it up now because I don't know.
Definitely
never
wasn't
seen it.
Disney.
I liked, but I sure enough thought that was Saban. Because Kamen Rider Dragon Knight was like that. Like, all right, we got a new flavor. All right, this.
So this Kamen Rider Dragon Knight thing was created in a cooperation of Toei Company being the Japanese owner and a company in America called Adness Entertainment, and produced by a guy named Steve Wang. So yeah, that's the history of where that came from.
Oh, I'm just confusing it with American Tokusatsu in general. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because I asked what's her name? She was the singer or the she wasn't the love interest, but the actress. No, I think the actress is a singer. That's what I'm getting. And I asked her, was there going to be another season? And she said there wasn't one, or just she hadn't heard of any in the works way back when I asked her. So,
But yeah, what do we what do we do we have any other, we've already kind of talked about our favorite people that we've met in Rangerstop and Pop, like what are some of the things, like not only some of our favorite memories, but what are some of the things that we would like to see at this upcoming. Well, first let's start off with our favorite memory, just to get that one out of the way.
Well,
You guys can go ahead.
Let me ask a quick question to kind of help segue into that, because there is one topic we didn't really cover that I do want to hear from you three more than me about.
Yeah.
Because you guys have been in this con a lot longer than I have. Location. I know a lot of people didn't like the Omni in 2024, but I want to hear from you guys, especially Carnell and Marc, because you guys have been attending this a lot longer than we have. What are your thoughts on the location?
There's been 3 locations, right?
Technically, what the Sheridan Grand / Cortland Grand, the Omni, that one place up near Lenox Mall. Yeah, so it's been 3 locations.
Um,
The Omni was weird with how it was definitely set up. I'll say that. And I didn't attend any of the panels, but from what I heard, it seemed like all the panels took place in the same locations.
Right. Yeah, it was all in one room.
That's for sure, yeah.
That is 100% weird for a con that commands that type of attendees.
So only have one panel.
What else was going on while the vendor hall thing is going on and this one panel room is being used? What else is happening? Where was everybody else at?
Making fan memories. I mean, that's the main thing that you do at cons nowadays, is make fan memories, make your TikToks, meet your guests, hang out with your friends.
Since the world ended, I've been on the business hunt when I go to cons, not on this fan experience. So I don't know what the fan experience is.
I keep my pulse on both sides of the fence so I can keep track of what's going on both ends. But a lot of cons now, it's more about meeting your friends, hanging out for the weekend, getting photos in your cosplay, making TikToks for the internet.
Oh, so they're stealing. They're basically stealing the whole shtick of MomoCon and DragonCon. Gotcha.
Yeah. So
they did a survey, and because I attended the convention as press, but the survey was as if I was just as a regular attendee, and it was kind of weird for me. Like, I can't really answer that in that way because I was here to interview, but I had to kind of switch it. To meet and greet for that meet and greet with so and so and like-minded individuals. The whole, I mean, it worked out that it was the panels were in one room, so I'm not having to because I was at Savannah Comic Con, like I had to pick in between the two because I mean technical issues because I was running low on battery life. Like, do I go to this panel or do I go to that panel? Because I can't go to both. Decisions.
I mean, I feel you, but I was talking to a volunteer about this very specific issue, and one thing with having just one massive panel hall is it limits your programming space for the 3 days you're doing your event. Like one thing that a lot of the fans requested that they thought would have back were the fan panels, where the Ranger fans themselves like ran panels and things like that, especially the Rangers of TikTok. They didn't have none of that because they didn't have the space to provide that. So it's a hit and a miss. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I do want to say, what was that year, 2021, where they were up near Lenox Mall? To me, granted, with the issues they had with the Cortland Grand last year, which caused them to go to the Omni this year, was the best location. I can't remember the name of that hotel, but it was up near Lenox Mall. It was multiple levels for the
Right.
convention. They had panels on both levels. They had it had space. They had the escalators. They had the dinner thing. Um, every time they was in the Cortland Grand / the Sheridan, they were in the basement. It was hot. It just felt like a basement con. And that's what it was
But
known for until the year 2021.
the other
Go ahead.
shoot, I'm trying to think of the other where the media room had this brown wall, right? Not
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
not the that's the one that you're talking about.
No, I know what you're talking about.
So was that 4 or was it 3?
I think that was 3 because we didn't have a room this year.
No, I mean different locate.
No, it was 3 locations. It's just they've been at one multiple times with different name changes.
Interesting. Okay, I'm getting a little confused. Like it's all blurring. I remember the Power Ranger backdrop, and I remember the brown, which it kind of cast a slight shadow. But eh, eh, um, what's it? Thing? Riz assist. Oh, with the what were we segueing to?
Okay, so I was just asking about locations. I think we got our answer that.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So I think we can segue into Nathan's question about guest announcements and guests you'd want to see next year. Is that what you're going to go to, Nate, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, and things we can talk about seeing improved.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about things that we want to see improve for next year first.
Ooh, yep. I'm definitely going first on that one.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bombard. But they gotta clearly the press experience. What we have to go through to get coverage and months before, months after preparing questions and getting all the concepts together and then doing editing and posting and getting eyes on the content. They got to do better about not necessarily treating us better, but utilizing us better instead of having all of us crammed up in one room for 3 days, getting the same interviews and footage, and then also throwing us out to the wind. They got to figure out a combination of something that works better, because my main issue with this past Rangerstop and Pop was 100% the lack of communication with the media team and us. Like, all of y'all got to do the VIP hour or whatever for some reason, because I missed out on that even though I was there. So I was just standing outside waiting to get in. That was not a great experience for me. And then I got my badge. So, but that's a rant for another after dark thing. But yeah, just the press experience in itself, like, there was no communication. I missed out on the RSP lounge thing because it was not communicated to me and a couple of other outlets that that's where we are allowed to go do interviews with everybody. Because otherwise, I wouldn't have got interviews at cable.
No, that because the RSP that's usually their area, and that's always been their area wherever they set up. And when I just happened to notice, because I mean I had to make a play, that it wasn't going to be in use. I figured out how I noticed it, and it just seemed like it felt. I don't know if it just to me where the location was at this past Rangerstop and Pop, that it felt like more accessible, because in previous ones I see it and I'm like it just didn't feel like I could access it. But this, I don't know if it was just my situation, and I go over to ask Dana, like it seemed like it's going to stay up, and if it's going to stay up, like, can I use this? And it's like, yeah, and it was such a more intimate feel.
Well, the press structure actually told me and Nathan that we could use that when there's nobody using it. Straight up.
Interesting.
But I will say, real
was it
quick,
Dana?
No, it was Kimiko.
Ah, okay, awesome. Okay, but I asked Dana in passing, and she gave me the heads up about it, and I was like, oh, thank you. And so I made arrangements. I feel like I should have gotten Nakia on that one, and I don't, and I think it was because I know she's always working. She's on the run, and I felt like I could have gotten a little bit of time with her in the lounge, which I need to take advantage of next year for this, because it was man, because it was like the first year, a lot was going on. You were there, you saw it.
I saw.
But yeah, Mark, I know the press, because it's just like trying to make sure that the press is a viable outlet, to help promote and get the word out for the ones that might be on the fence, the little groups here and there. It's like, oh man, I didn't even know about this. I need to come and check this out. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely depressed. But I inquired about Patricia, like I mentioned earlier, and I inquired about Amy Jo, and they said it was disclosed that they reached out to him, and they basically said no. And I'm just like,
Well, the reason that Amy Jo probably said no is she has a contract with Fan Expo to only do Fan Expo events and certain select other cons. So like certain guests can only appear at certain cons if they sign a contract with the main company. So years ago, Jason and Frank had a contract with Wizard World, which is why he was at almost every Wizard World across the country, is because he had a contract with them to fly out and do different cons. So I think Amy Jo, I don't know the whole story on hers, but from what I've heard.
Well, wait, she was a guest at Collecticon.
Yeah, no, Collecticon. Sorry, that's what it was, not Fan Expo. Sorry,
because Fan is with Atlanta Comic Con, and talking to Dan Farr, just like that makes sense why you had these pretty big names, all here at this one event. And I'm just like, okay, that makes sense, because I'm just like,
honestly, it makes sense for Amy to be doing this anyway, because I love the Ranger actors. I love them with all my heart. All right, for the most part, there's a couple of people I don't like, but for the most part, I love the Ranger actors. But unfortunately, a lot of the actors don't have many roles after they do Power Rangers.
This is true.
They end up building their celebrity status off the Power Ranger fandom, and that's where they make their money, and that's where they work out of, basically. But certain other actors, Amy Jo Johnson for one, Rose McIver another one, they are very big now. Amy Jo is becoming more and more involved in like the directing and the production side of stuff. She does a lot of short films. She does a lot of independent movies, and she's normally trying to promote that stuff more than anything else. And then Rose McIver, she left RPM and went on to do like iZombie and a whole bunch of other TV shows after. So it makes sense for some of these actors to keep a little bit of distance from the Ranger fandom, because they have more than the Ranger fandom to connect with. Though I do think they should be able to come to a con every now and then, but I understand why they don't from a business standpoint. But also, Collecticon does, I think, have a contract with Amy to have her attend their cons throughout the year. And I think she also has limited bandwidth for when she can go to shows because she still has a very active career that a lot of the other actors don't really have as much of. I mean, Aaron Cale has a really active career in the Lifetime movies, I think. Like, she does a lot of those, like, Hallmark movies or some... No, Hallmark, sorry, not Lifetime. So she's active there, but a lot of the other actors, I mean, maybe they'll pop up every now and then in something, but nothing like a big role. And this is nothing against the actors. This is just something I noticed over time.
I feel you. Just future. I am limited on time.
Yeah. We're gonna try and start wrapping up soon.
Okay. I'm just looking at it. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense, Riz. Because
Yeah.
I was trying my hardest to get to Collecticon. I was trying to make up for missing. Oh, my girl Veronica, a voice of Ash. Because first time I seen her was at the first Rangerstop and Pop. We were making plans. Boom. We couldn't make it. Then I see her at AWA. She recognized me. It was so cool. Like, hey, I know you. You know. And I was trying to make sure that it wasn't a situation like I don't need your fans thinking I don't get any special treatment. You know what I'm saying? But we were making plans, but then that kind of fell through. I was like, man, I just. And so when I saw that, and then I found out that Amy Jo also attends Collecticon. It's like, dang. But I'm gonna hold out hope. Maybe, possibly Patricia Jolie can make it, because I don't know if you know this, but I think I still have it. At the time, Deep Cut, when I was at Media Play, I got Giant Robot magazine, and she was on the cover. And I'm just like, man, I would legit go into fanboy mode, get that signed, and be like, yeah, you know, type of situation. Because normally I keep my composure. I'm good. There's hints of it maybe in the interview or whatnot, but like, yeah, I think I'd go full blown fanboy for Patty, PJ. I wish, you know, Amy Jo, that would be nice, because you know the OGs. I still I still need to talk to Selwyn Ward and hear it from the horse's mouth, his experience, like, yo, you replaced Tommy. Like, yo, and I've heard different not I've heard bits of him talking about the experience here and there, but I just like, I want to be in the room. I want to be, you know. So there's that. Uh I would like, I think, from Ninja Storm, Cam's character, because that was that the samurai range, the green samurai range, that was interesting character. I mean, again, keep going. I'm favorite color is green, and it was really, it seemed reminiscent of the Mighty Morphin Green Ranger with the shield and all, but just a twist. You know, well, more than a twist. But I think I would like to me. Well, shoot, I'm trying not to go too much in the headcanon, because that would be so cool if they would do a forever Six Ranger type of situation. Because David Yost, not to go on a tangent real quick, but the fact that he disclosed the fact that he wrote the episode, not the pilot, the Netflix
Once and always.
Once and Always. Thank you. I'm like, I like, why do I keep having Forever in my head? Forever a Ranger. That it was supposed to be a series, and
The Quantum Continuum.
that it was that what that was
Yeah.
supposed. Okay,
Yeah.
and it ended up becoming a movie of different timeline or whatnot. But I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So there's a possibility that there can still be a franchise coming from. I mean, again, I'm trying not to go deep dive into this, but I mean, there's still a possibility of the new with the old, and creating these different stories and continuing the love of the fandom. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's who I can think of at the moment that
Okay.
I would like to see.
Mark, you have anyone you want to add on to that list before we start wrapping up?
Yeah, I just realized some stuff about this past year's Rangerstop and Pop that I should probably just talk to y'all in the chat. So I'm gonna save it for that.
Okay. So for me, I will second that. I would like to see Cam's actor come to Rangerstop and Pop. I think that'd be really awesome to have him at the Green Samurai Ranger. Other than that, I would honestly like to see Rangerstop and Pop work with Tokyo Spirits to bring some tokusatsu actors over from Japan. But other than that, I mean, I think I've said my piece on Rangerstop. I think it's been a great con experience for me 2 years in a row. I'm looking forward to next year.
Yep.
And I am very excited to go get a chance to hang out with you guys again, because I greatly enjoy all the time we spent together over the last 2 years at the con, working together, editing after the fact, and just our little groups that we have where we just throw ideas off of each other to learn how to grow from each other.
Yeah, and I would
Likewise.
second what Carnell has to say. I really want to meet Patricia Jolie just because once I've met her, I've met every single Space Ranger. So because I met Christopher Kamen, I met most of the cast in the two Power Morphicons that I went to. Yeah, I met Chris Lee, I met Selwyn, I met Roger and Justin, and then I also met Tracy Lynn Cruz. So yeah, I just need to see Patricia Jolie, and then I've met that whole team. So while they're at it, maybe they could get the guy. Now, granted, I don't expect them to get him because he's busy not with acting, but he actually is nowadays like part of like a stunt coordinating crew and a pretty high one at that. The guy who played Chad on Lightspeed Rescue,
Yeah.
Mike Chaturunda, but I have no idea how to pronounce that guy's name. But if I were to ever meet him, I would have met all the Lightspeed Rangers. Now I don't expect them to get him because his stunt coordinating studio is like a really high standard. Like they work with like Taylor Lautner in the past and a bunch of other ones. So he's pretty high. So he's a pretty busy person, even if he's not necessarily a big actor. But yeah, and I second what Riz has to say. I would love to see Toku Spirits bring in some Sentai actors, and I really hope John Tui can make it this time. Fully understand why he couldn't make it this year because he had much more important things to attend to. I completely get that, but I'm hoping that he can make it this next year.
I just realized I have yet to meet a complete set of Rangers. I have to work on that.
Right. Because the anniversary of Time Force, they were trying to do it, but the Pink Ranger had to cancel, and now she's coming to 2025's Rangerstop and Pop.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, they got some pretty good actors so far coming. I'm not going to go off of all of them, But
Who are some notable ones?
the most notable ones to me is Aaron Cahill's coming back. We're gonna have Paul Scryer and Jason Narvi play Bulk and Skull. They're gonna be there. Let's see who else. We have the regular actors, well, like Steve Cardenas, Kat Sutherland. They're always there. Jason Font, Walter Emanuel. So far, there's not too many actors that I haven't met so far. These are all people I've met in the past at some point. But I think they're holding off on the bigger announcements for January. When
I would imagine they would. This being the last year, I would assume they're going balls to the walls with.
They're going to have a lot of people. They're going to be bringing in everyone they can.
Jason Font was there, but like when he wasn't able to get to the media room, press room, he was so busy at his table. So I'm just like, I get that.
That was 2023. That wasn't 24.
Huh?
That was in 2023.
Yes.
Because I was there for that, and he was.
Yeah, me too.
Eric Cahill and Jason Font came in last minute. They were announced like a couple of days before the con. And they were only there for Saturday, I think. I don't think they were there on Sunday. Because Nathan and I were talking to try and get an interview with them. But they said they would love to have done it, but they had to leave to get on a plane, so they couldn't do it.
Who was this again?
Jason Font and Aaron Cahill.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You remember we're talking to them, and they said,
Yeah, now I remember.
Yeah, if we were not flying out later today, we would have definitely stuck around and did an interview with you guys. Because I kind of bonded with Jason Font and Aaron Cahill at a con years ago, and Aaron Cahill remembered me somehow, so that's kind of cool to me.
Yeah.
You don't seem too forgettable, Riz.
I thought it was a low profile.
I don't know about that.
Do we have any closing thoughts we want to give here, gentlemen?
My closing thoughts are: I'm excited for 2025. I'm excited to hang out with you guys again. Excited to work with you guys again. And excited to morph one more time with Rangerstop and Pop 2025.
Carnell, Marc?
I want to say I'm excited. It's just this past year. So it's one of those situations where it's just like I don't know. And if it's the same, hopefully it's not the same experience of the 2024. But you know, I've already experienced that, so knowing how to maneuver better and make it a more enjoyable experience. But definitely can't wait for all of us to link up. We should do something specific besides the dinner, possible dinner.
Yeah.
So.
And Marc?
So again, I feel like my heart is being ripped out my chest and just kicked down the stairs yet again when it comes to this series. Just personally, at least I still have the Sentai to look forward to, even though that's become a lot like anime now. But I am excited for next year. I know it's going to be the best con that they can possibly put together. It's going to be the biggest con they can possibly put together. I hope that maybe Nikki and Karen watch this and they take some of our suggestions. But I would love to just see every single Power Ranger ever that was there, every single production assistant, every single cameraman, everyone that's ever worked on Power Rangers, because I want to just shake their hand because I'll probably never have this opportunity in my life to geek out with like half of Atlanta about my favorite thing on earth. So I gotta pass out some flowers to some people because this franchise, clearly it means a lot to me. It's who and what I base my entire life and personality off of. So I gotta pay some kind of homage to the Rangerstop and Pop and do something big next year. So I'm gonna work on that myself.
And Nathan, 100%. Same question to you. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, just to kind of close this out here. It really does suck that that Rangerstop and Pop is coming to an end, but I'm looking forward to enjoying like one last time. And then I mean, at least for me and Riz, and hopefully Carnell and maybe Mark at some point, we could all continue this tradition in San Antonio. But even if we're not able to do it in San Antonio, we can always do these collabs here and there because if there's one thing that we can probably take as like a bigger takeaway from Rangerstop and Pop, it's that we got these 4 awesome people on these podcasts. Well, 3 awesome people, not counting me, but to
You're a
Hey,
person. You
hold
count.
up, hold up, hold up, hold up. You're also awesome setup.
yeah, but yeah, we could continue doing these collabs because just because Rangerstop and Pop goes away doesn't mean that stuff like this has to go away. So
Yeah, but it felt like
but
it
yeah,
came and went. Like it started with a hot flash, and then it was so exciting and like, oh my god, finally! Well, just maybe for me because it was the first time I've ever attended a Power Ranger only convention was in 2019. But like to me, it was like this is all I've asked and prayed for my entire life, and I got it. And now it's just being ripped away from me because I didn't give them enough of my money, and now I'm mad at myself.
well,
You have one more chance to do it.
but yeah, to wrap this up, go ahead, Mark.
No, go ahead, wrap it up.
Yeah, but to wrap it up, guys. So next time, hopefully earlier than what we're doing than the month we're doing it now. Next year, we'll be doing another podcast to take a look at Rangerstop and Pop 2025. We'll have Carnell and Mark on, and maybe JB, hopefully too. By the way, be sure to show Carnell and Mark's channel some love on YouTube. Carnell Holley Photography and Mark's channel Blerdography.
Pictures. He's the photography. I'm the pictures guy.
And I
Okay.
don't do any photography on my channel, so have fun with that.
Yeah. But yeah, be sure to show their channel some love because they're definitely some good friends of ours here, and we'll definitely try to have them on for some other podcasts. We know that we've said that in the past, but we definitely mean it. Um, but yeah, we will definitely be doing another one, and then who knows? I mean, hopefully we might have some better news at some point in the distant future regarding some future Power Rangers conventions, but we just got to wait and see. But we definitely can't. We definitely don't want to stay too pessimistic. But with that said, also stay tuned for the Token Seekers podcast as we are officially moving on to taking a look at Engine Sentai Go Onger next. So be sure to check out our podcast with that.
That's one of my
And
favorites.
and we'll continue to resume our reviews on Boom Boomger once 35 comes out. But with that said, we thank Carnell and Mark for joining us, and we will see you guys next time when we resume our regular podcast schedule. But until then, bye for now. If you enjoyed listening to the Toku Secrets podcast, please check us out at animesecrets.org and follow us on all our social media pages such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And also feel free to check out our other podcasts, including Anime Declassified and the Jedi Squadron. You can also leave us any feedback you'd like to offer us directly on our website. If you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, we thank you so much, and please leave us a rating out of 5 stars. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed, and leave any comments down below, as we love to take the time to read comments left on our channel and give our fans, shout-outs. If you have any seasons of Super Sentai, Power Rangers, or other tokusatsu shows that you'd like for us to check out, please don't hesitate to say so in your feedback. With all that said, we thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our podcast, and we will see you next time as we continue our never-ending journey through the world of tokusatsu. But until that time, you all stay safe, we love you, and may the power protect you.